Check, 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 1, 2, check.
I'm just kidding, I lied.
How dare you lie?
I started on one thing, but I didn't start on
Check, 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 1, 2.
Pretty good. All right. What are your thoughts about playing the game that doesn't affect the playoff season?
Yeah, it is what it is. I mean, so
What's your personal history with the Ravens? And
in situations like this, you mean?
would you play? Or
I think we only had one opportunity, and it was the year we won, and I hadn't missed a start at that point. I think we ended up playing like a series, something like that.
seemed to work?
Are you a believer in, momentum matters in the playoffs?
I mean, hitting your stride definitely matters, but each week is its own. I don't know if anything really matters besides getting in, and then once you get in, it kind of starts over at that point. So
You probably have the most playoff experience of anybody in here. Like, are there pieces of advice that you can give the younger guys or the guys that haven't had the playoff experience that you have?
it's tough. I think everybody always wants to kind of, it's playoff atmosphere. It's going to be this. It's going to be that. I will say, like, typically in the beginning of the games, you can feel that energy a little bit, but the games settle in. I've always found it best to just go about your business the same way you always would and let the game kind of come to you. Don't try to do too much. It's just play within yourself, and the next thing you know, it'll feel like a regular game. I will say, though, in the beginning, the atmosphere, you can kind of feel the importance of it and feel the little bit of difference. But like I said, after the first few minutes, first couple drives, the game settles in, and it's another football game. So,
Joe, the fact that you've only played 5 games in 12 months, would you want to play if asked?
Listen, I think as players, you always want to get out there and play and strap it up. So that's the mindset that we have, and just kind of keep it simple like that.
How about the fact that, does it factor in at all that you could also earn an extra little $75,000 bonus if you start the season?
No. Once again, those are things that are so far out of my mind, not for me to worry about, no. Is that it?
What about, you didn't have Cooper and you didn't have Elijah Moore for much of that game against the Jets. Is it important to reconnect with them before the playoffs?
I think as much as we can do, over the next couple weeks, sure. But that's just part of this game, man, is like, dealing with stuff like that. I think you never know when you're going to have to, so the ability to kind of just keep going and keep your focus on what it is important. I think the main focus is just getting those guys healthy, and then dealing with what comes after that when we have to.
Sorry to be redundant, but if Coach asks you, do you want to play or what your preference is, what's your preference?
Listen, like I said, as players, you always want to get out there and strap them up. In my experiences, coaches don't usually leave that up to the players. They make the decision and they run with it. So
The numbers say that you're amidst one of the best stretches, if not the best stretch in your career, which, considering the situation this year, is somewhat unique. Just why do you think you've been able to put together such a good stretch of football?
Listen, I think statistically, sure, you can say that. I mean, it's easy to just look at that and say that. But, I've said it before. I think that doesn't always tell the story. It can tell, it can give you an idea of what's going on, but it doesn't always tell the story. Listen, you got to give a ton of credit to just, first of all, the offensive line. I think, the pockets and just the amount of space that I've had back there to be able to get through my reads and then do some extra. I think you got to give them a ton of credit. I think you got to give a ton of credit to the wideouts. I think you got to give a ton of credit to Kevin. He's called pretty aggressive games, I would say, over the last 6 weeks, and I think it's made a little bit of a difference. So there's a lot of factors.
So acknowledging that, how do you feel compared to what the numbers say that you've been able to produce?
Well, listen, obviously it's been feeling pretty good to go out there and win football games. I don't know if you're necessarily aware of what you're doing in the moment, but to win, it feels good. So everybody's excited, and I've said it before, you can see it in everybody's eyes. Like, we're all excited to go out there and play football games right now, and that's a good feeling. I'm honestly, like, at the point in my career I am, like, I could care less if I throw for a touchdown pass or not. It's about winning the football game. I think at some point in your career, like, you fight the urge to want to have, good stats, and that's what you want to do, and you want to prove that you're this kind of player, that kind of player. It really doesn't matter, man. It's been nice to be able to just focus on winning football games, and everything else is secondary.
Did you come back by any chance a better quarterback after having sat out part of the season? In some ways, did you come back in better in any aspect, and if so, what might that be?
I think if you can keep yourself in shape as a quarterback, then there's no reason you shouldn't get better year after year. You just always gain little insights. For me, for sure, like just the last couple years and then not being somewhere most of the year this year, I think you can definitely gain some perspective on, just what we do for a living and how important it is. It can give you that, it just kind of removes you from the situation a little bit and allows you to, I don't know, seeing stuff from another perspective just gives you a different insight, and it reminds you, I think, in this case, of how cool it is to do what we get to do. So I think taking that into games it definitely helps you mentally.
Joe, you're obviously self-driven, and I know you probably put pressure on yourself to play well when you're out there, but because you were out for a while, has it allowed you to play a little more carefree and maybe, not that you wouldn't take risks in the past, but maybe, slinging around a little bit more because of that?
I think there's probably something to that. Like, you think there's something to that, right? Like, you probably go into your first game and I think you can trick yourself into thinking, okay, like, it's not like people really expect that much. I'm just going to go out here and just do, whatever. But, man, these games are so important that by the time game day comes around, there's a little bit of you that feels that importance, and you want to go out there and play well for your teammates. So, listen, I just said in the last answer, I do think there's something that you can kind of refresh you get a little refresh from being away. So you're not necessarily going out there and playing more carefree, but the different perspective that you, like I said, just when you're in the grind, you can look at it like a job, and when you're out of it, you want that job, and then when you get back to it, you look at it less like a job and more like a game that you have to go out and win. So I think I would be lying if I said there wasn't some kind of factor with all that stuff, but I don't know how to perfectly word it.
When you talk your personal history in the division, we know you dominated the Browns. You had a winning record against Pittsburgh, a losing record against Cincinnati. Does it feel like they've had your number in your career at all?
Yeah, I hate going to Cincinnati. They've always played us tough. Listen, I think my first year we beat up on them, and then after that, I mean, they got good. They got good quick. I mean, you got to give credit to those guys. They've had really good football teams, and they've beat us a couple crazy ways too. They've just flat out beat me and the teams I was on, and they've beaten us on fourth downs, on Hail Marys. I think every year we'd look at that, and we knew that they probably had our number a little bit, and we were doing our best to overcome it. But they're a good football team, and they have been for a really long time now. So you got to give them credit.
Do you remember your first win was against them?
Yeah, I do. Yes, yeah. Kind of crazy. I think we scored on 2 reverses, one of which was broken, and I scored on, and then the second of which was actual reverse. I think maybe we kicked one more field goal that game, but yeah.
Longest run ever?
Yes, first game ever, longest run ever.
When you talked about Kevin as a play caller and the aggression he's shown, you talked about watching the Browns play from home. Like, could you tell that when you're watching? Like, did you think this is a play caller I'd like to be with or anything like that?
I don't know. I think just kind of seeing him from afar and knowing that he was with a guy that I've been with, I'm sure there was a little bit of that thought process, but other than that, didn't really have too much of an opinion.
And then when you got here, you refer to the Browns as they, right? So when does they become like we? Is that like right as you see?
Yeah. Well, I think it's still like that weird thing. It's like when you're talking about games that they were, that we were playing before I got here. It is like, what do you say? Listen, this locker room, you heard great things about it coming in before you stepped foot into it, and I felt like very quickly I became part of the we, and that's a credit to these guys around here. So.
Kind of along those lines, you can't possibly know before you got here, but do you have a sense of what impact you've had on this locker room since you've been here?
It's tough to look at it that way. I mean, you can tell like that people look at you, guys look at you a little bit differently just because of the fact that I've played. This is the 16th year that I've been in this league, And you can tell that guys look at you a little bit differently just because of that. I mean, I'm dealing with, I always say it. If I messed up in high school, I mean, I could be these kids' dads. It's like there is, there's something that, they probably do look at me a little bit differently just because of that. To get a sense of what kind of impact, who knows? I'm just being myself and trying to help them win games. And I think when you're yourself, that's the best chance you have to impact people. So hopefully I've had something.
Pretty good?
Yep.
Thanks.
All right, thanks, guys.
I really can't see from it.
It's very festive.
Yeah, man. Gotta start the New Year's off right.
Greg,
Go ahead, Scott.
I was just saying, what's it like going into the last week where it doesn't really matter and also kind of thinking about the playoffs at the same time?
I don't know how it's like because it does matter. And we're trying to go 1-0 this week. It's a division rival. I love playing against the Bengals. That's probably my favorite team to go against in the NFL. So for us, it does matter. We're still playing for pride out there, although we clinched already. So this week definitely matters for us. So.
Do you want to play Sunday?
Oh, for sure.
Have you been told if you will?
No, not yet. But the plan is that I'm going to treat this week like I'm playing, and hopefully I'm out there.
How important is it, Greg, then, to finish strong this season, even though you might not know who's playing and, you guys already clinched, but is it still important to finish the season on a high note?
Yeah, it's super important. Like Coach Schwartz said, no matter who's ever out there, they're setting the standard for us. I think preseason, you've seen that, the starters wasn't playing right away, but those guys set the tone in preseason. Like, the defense looks exactly how it looked in preseason right now. So whoever's out there, we're going to keep that same tone going into the playoff.
Are you a believer in momentum?
Oh, for sure. We're hot right now, and we got to continue that. They always say, man, you want to be hot at the right time, and I think we're doing a great job right now in the 3 game. So we're just trying to keep that momentum up.
Regardless of how much starters play, how can this game be good for younger guys if they get an opportunity to kind of get that momentum heading into the playoffs?
Oh, it's huge. Just getting out there, getting some reps, some guys who normally don't play certain positions, guys who doesn't have the ability to go out there and play on defense a lot because they're playing a lot of special teams. So I think it's just great for those younger guys, especially like some corners in our room, getting a chance to be able to get out there, play. We're super excited. They've been practicing their tails off all year, so for them to get a chance to play, we're super excited.
Could you expand why you like playing the Bengals?
Oh, man, just, I'm a competitor. I think they arguably got one of the best receiving cores in the league, so it's just always a super competitive game for us out there.
Joe just said something kind of funny. He said, if I had messed up in high school, I could be some of these guys' dads. Does he give off any kind of a dad vibe to you guys, or do you kind of, look up to him in some of those kind of ways as somebody that's been around, and what's sort of the feeling on that?
Yeah, I mean, just how he, how he dresses, got the dad look. But just we definitely, get that vibe from him. I mean, a guy who's been in the league for a long, long time, knows a lot. So he's very smart, and we just try to use him in any way we can just to help our growth as, individuals, as men, and as players.
Greg, he was saying that he felt welcomed right away because of the experience you just talked about, him being in the league for so long. Did that kind of take away that awkwardness, that there was maybe some kind of not a reverence necessarily, but a respect that he had earned just by walking in the door?
Oh, for sure. A guy who's been in the league that long, who's won at the highest level, you automatically respect, someone like that. Although some guys, right away, you do have to earn respect. That's how the league, works. You come in, no matter what name you are, you still always got to earn respect. But, a guy like that who's done it at the highest level, he had our respect from the jump, and he just proved us right. We knew exactly what he can do. We knew he was a veteran. We knew he was proven, and he's showing that right now.
Greg, how well do you think you played the last game?
How well have I played? I think I've played pretty well. I think other than the Denver game, I think since that game I've been playing at a very elite level.
What do you think changed after that game?
Nothing. Just the mindset, knowing that each snap means something. My team needs me out there, especially when one of our best corners, one of the best corners in the league is out. I knew the team needed me to patrol out there, the outside a little bit more, and play to my ability. So that was pretty much the biggest difference.
There's been an aggressive along those lines. There's been an aggressiveness about you over the last few weeks, kind of point of attack, whatever. Is that just having the freedom to play, or just the confidence to play as well as you're playing that allows you to make those kinds of plays?
Yeah, first is just confidence. I'm definitely playing at a very confident level right now, and it's just laying it all out there on the line for my teammates. That's the biggest thing. Realizing some of those, run fits, things like that, I could be a little bit more aggressive. So it's just laying my body out there for my team, no matter what happens. I know they got my back, so I'm just trying to do whatever I can to help the team win.
How much time do you spend on your celebrations?
Like practicing it? Actually, I really honestly don't practice it too much. I just, whatever I feel at the time is just kind of what I do.
What kind of feedback? Have you gotten a bunch of feedback, like from fans and stuff?
Oh yeah, I mean, some fans hate it. Some fans say I celebrate too much, but it's whatever. That's what Shorts loves. He loves celebrating, our brothers' successes, and I feel like that's one of the things about me. I love seeing my guys succeed. So, I'm always gonna be over there celebrating.
Thanks, Greg.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, what's going on, boss?
So what's this feel like getting ready for the playoffs?
Well, I mean, it feels like we have a game this week. It feels like, although we know that we're in the playoffs, we still have to keep our focus lasered in on the Bengals and all of that, their game plan is going to do for us. And they have a few changes from the last time we saw them, and we have a few changes, so we're just trying to make sure that we're locked in. Even for the players, that maybe, have a little bit less playing time, we're still trying to stay locked in to prepare ourselves properly to get in that rhythm for the playoffs. So.
The adage for contenders is you want to be playing your best football in late December, going into January. Excuse me. Do you feel like right now that you guys are where you feel you need to be, and do you feel like you've been playing your best football?
I wouldn't say, the best football that we can play. I'm sure that the scores will be looking a lot different if we're playing, the best football we can play, at least speaking for the defense. But we are playing at a level that allows us to get a win. And I think that that's what's important at the time, is just to make sure that we come out with the win, make sure that we execute. And that's what we're trying to do here, Sunday with the Bengals.
So are you expecting to rest at least to some degree, whether or not it's all game or part of the game?
Yeah, I'm not really sure what the coach is going to do, but I know I'll probably hear some words soon.
Are you a believer in momentum? There's one school of thought is if guys rest going into the playoffs, that kind of takes away momentum that gets built up and things like that. Are you a believer that game-to-game momentum builds and carries over?
I'm not necessarily like a big momentum guy, at least off the field. I would much rather rely on discipline. I would much rather rely upon the process in which we've put in place since the off season. I think that that's what we're really going to rely on, is that culture that we've built and the mindset to always finish out strong. Momentum inside of the game, though, is a real thing. You got the crowd and everything pumping you up. That's a real thing. But as far as off the field, we're just trying to follow into the process that we've been doing and making sure that we come out with the win. And that starts, Sunday. So.
How does Cincinnati look different to you with Brown and Flacco over there?
Well, I'm sure that we're going to be expecting some more, more quick passes than we usually have. They're not trying to get them hit or anything. I know our D-line has been doing a great job putting pressure on quarterbacks, but it looks a lot different. I mean, they're proficient in what they do. 70% completion rate from Brownie. So I think that the offense is not an offense that we got to say, this quarterback isn't a good quarterback. He's an excellent quarterback, and he's done a great job for him so far. They've been keeping the ball well. I think they're +8 in the turnover margin, so that's a great stat to have. So it's just like any game. We're going into it, trying to follow into the coach's plan and follow through and making sure that all of our processes come to fruition.
Jeremiah, Joe Flacco's impact on the field is pretty obvious. What's he meant to you guys off the field?
Yeah, I mean, he's an anchor. He's able to know guys personally, and what I mean by personally is to understand personalities. He came into the locker room and guys are calling him cuz and all type of stuff. I think he quoted I think Coop one time. But again, it's when you're in the locker room, and especially as a quarterback, being an anchor, you have so many different personalities. You have so many different types of people. I think he does a great job of that. And he's been in the league for a long time, so I think he understands that to a high degree.
What have you seen out of Greg the last month or so, especially?
New?
Yeah.
Yeah, New. I mean, New has been improving, since he's got here. He's a big energy guy. You'll see it on the field. He's always, the guy, along with, a couple other guys, but he's the guy that's always kind of doing the celebrations, running over. You'll see him. He may be down the field, but, we get a sack and he'll be the first guy down there to celebrate. So he's a big energy guy. He's been doing very well with, his defense, making sure he get a lot of PDs, and he's just been a playmaker as always. So.
Do you feel like you've had a Pro Bowl season?
I wouldn't necessarily say, a Pro Bowl season in the sense of, my own standard, right? I think the player's standard is always higher than, what other people may think, right? But for me, I would have wanted to, have some more TFL. I would have wanted to have some more interceptions, more forced fumbles, right? More tackles. But again, that's the process, though. That's that's the process that we have to go through to be able to become that player that we want for ourselves, right? But yeah.
Did you watch football over the weekend? Did you watch the Ravens game?
I actually didn't watch much of it. I was trying to kind of take my mind away a little bit from football. I'll probably get back in there and watch a little bit more. But for me, I was trying to lay back a little bit, make sure I take care of my body. Traveling a little bit, seeing family.
So you're not at the point of looking at scores and.
Oh no, I definitely was looking at the scores for sure. I wasn't watching physically the game, but I did have my my little ESPN alerts or whatever.
So the fact that the Ravens are the #1 seed, they're in your division, you beat them. That's the pathway to the Super Bowl. How do you feel about that?
Well, again, like we're focused on the Bengals right now. I think as we go on week by week, we'll make sure to emphasize each team that's coming up. The Ravens are a great team. They've done a great job this year in executing, and when we see them, we see them.
Has the game slowed down this year? It just seems like you're playing really fast, and the lights have really kind of come on more so than ever. Is that true?
I think y'all love this question right here. I probably got asked that question right there. I probably got asked that question more than anything. I think Taki has done a great job in executing. But no, I think for me, the more time that you get in doing something, the more experience you get in doing something, something gets better, right? Something may get worse, but also something gets better. And I think for me, I've been around Coach Tarver enough, been around the players enough to be able to kind of adjust and adapt to the system into which we play, how we feel each other, no homo, pause. But yeah, I think that for me, I think it's the more time, the more comfortability, and the more intensity that you put into the time you get, the better results you get. So.
Sometimes it can be scheme too, you know what I mean? Like Jim Schwartz could have put you in amazing positions of strength, and maybe that has a lot to do with it too. I mean, do you think it's a combo of both of those?
Yeah, I mean, it's a combo of everybody in the organization, from the people that help us out with the laundry to the people that's in the front office. I think all of our success has to do with the organization in totality. It's not just Jim Schwartz, although he's the mastermind, right? It's not just Myles Garrett, although he's the mastermind, right? I think it's a combination of a lot of small pieces that we may not even see.
As the injuries started to pile up this year, when did you kind of feel like, yeah, we're still good enough, we still have what it takes to overcome all of them?
Yeah, I don't think it was a point for me. I was like, oh, we're still good enough. I think for us, it was just like, hey, we've set in place a platform. We set in place a culture, a standard to which anyone who is inside of this this framework has to keep that 111, as we talk about all the time. And I think for us, at least for the players, we're not like, okay, we prefer this guy over this guy or this guy over another. I think for us, it's like, are you keeping the standard? Are you doing the little things that will allow us to continue to propel ourselves forward to, give this city what it's been asking for years, right?
Is it surprising at all that you guys have been able to overcome all the adversity?
Yeah, I don't think anything is surprising when you put the work in. I think for us, we've put the work in, the process is in, and we would have wanted the season to go a bit better, right? Of course, but I think for us, it's week by week, it's second by second, it's hour by hour. How can we be better than what we were, that last hour or that last second, right? So I think that's really the mind frame in which we are right now. And there's A-Walk. I haven't seen A-Walk in a long time.
Was it kind of going off of that? You guys have always talked about this next man up mentality. Was there a moment that you noticed that it kind of turned from like a cliche in football to like, no, we really do fully embody this as a team?
I mean, you see that in camp. You got guys going out in camp. We have joint practices, and you see guys that fill in. You may throw a guy in there during the joint practices. That's maybe going with the threes or whatever, but he still is able to kind of embody that culture that we've set in mind, body, and spirit to be able to be out there with the tenacity and do his job. And I think that's the basics. Football is all about the fundamentals, and I think for us, the guys that come in know the fundamentals and are able to implement those things to give us the best result.
I'm sorry. What makes Browns Bengals? It just seems that there's something between these two teams. What makes games between you guys? I guess unique is the word, intense.
Yeah.
However you want to put it. It seems to be a little nice rivalry going on.
Well, I think the obvious is that we're in the same state, right? I think the obvious is we've always had some chatter coming from each side, and again, I mean, it's a prideful state. It's a prideful two teams, and I think that anytime you have those two mixed into one game in one atmosphere, it's always a battle. It's always an atmosphere, no matter who's playing. So, you want to say something? Okay. Oh, I don't even know what she brought it. She probably brought it. I got it.
JOK, that hit that you had against Brees Hall on that screen pass, you heard an audible pop. How much does that get you fired up as a linebacker to make a hit like that?
I mean, it gets me fired up, but like at the end of the day, I turn around, I'm like, what did the D-line do that allowed me to get to that play faster? What did the safeties tell me on that play? So I think a lot of the things, you see somebody execute a play, and like again, it goes back to what I was saying about the whole organization. There's a lot of stuff that led up to that play, whether it's the video guys putting up cut-ups of all screens, right? Like those are some of the things that really lead up to plays like that. I'm thankful for it. Of course, we celebrate those those big small wins, and I think at the end of the day, I give the glory to all those who made it happen. So.
Hey, Jeremiah,
Last one.
Joe told us he kind of got to a point in his career where stats just don't matter. He just wants to win. You just made a comment about you wish maybe you had a few more tackles or more interceptions or whatever. How much do statistics validate how you feel about the way you play this year?
Yeah, that's a good point. I think for Joe, Super Bowl guy, like I think there is a point where you get in the game and you're not necessarily too much about the statistics either. I think for me it's more of